Minnesota tonight.
Thank you. I'm Lizzie Gardner.
And I'm Cody Nelson.
And this is the state of Minnesota.
The Best in Glass Awards, a statewide tap water competition, took place at the Duluth Convention Center last week with St. Cloud coming home the victor. Hey, finally they have something to put on that sign.
Finally. A Duluth man driving a stolen car led police on a 60-mile high-speed pursuit on Thursday night, ending in arrest. At press time, the suspect was white and fine.
After some roadblocks and an eventual relocation, the official Prince tribute concert featuring Stevie Wonder, Christina Aguilera, and many others will finally be held in mid-October at the Xcel Energy Center. The star-studded event is expected to celebrate the life and talent of the man responsible for that classic St. Paul sound.
Classic. Yeah. You really made St. Paul. Speaking of St. Paul, a Prairie Home Companion returns next month with the first show under new host mandolinist Chris Thiele. The Fitzgerald Theater will be taking the usual precautions for when a mandolinist comes to town, which include earplugs for all those raging licks and putting a tarp down because ladies are about to get wet. They are. Expedia released a list of their 55 most breathtaking world destinations last week, and local beauty Minnehaha Falls made the list. And at number 56, the Minnehaha Falls Information Kiosk, said Angie at the information kiosk to nobody.
A racist Snapchat picture has surfaced at the University of North Dakota that depicts 4 white students in blackface with the caption, "Black Lives Matter." The president of UND, who was appalled by the picture, said he planned on finding out the intent. Right, yeah, intent. Good, they could have been joking. We should find that out.
Definitely make sure they're kidding. In other news, a racist Snapchat picture has surfaced at the University of North Dakota that depicts 3 white girls celebrating the fact that they had locked a black student out of their room. We here at Minnesota Tonight are grateful that the white citizens of our state would never engage in such direct racism. It's a much more of institutional vibe here. Brad Pitt was reported as being intoxicated and out of control at the International Falls Airport last week during a layover, to the point where he relieved himself on the tarmac. Sources say he grew agitated at the border of Canada when he found out you can't get UN asylum from your own past. You can't.
Stimoni X, a Minneapolis stem cell research company, won this year's Minnesota Cup, a local startup competition. The company took home $30,000 for winning the life science division and another $50,000 for receiving the grand prize.
Great.
Hey, $20,000 more, you got yourself a couple of EpiPens, buddy.
They're so close. Elsewhere in science, medical staff conducted a study at Hennepin County jails which found that 52% of inmates showed indicators of mental illness. Sources say the administration would like to move these patients to a more appropriate place, but the Minnesota legislature is overcrowded as it is. So, it's a little crowded.
There's been one confirmed death associated with the Legionnaire's disease outbreak in Minnesota. Health experts say that those most susceptible to the bacterial infection are the elderly, those with weakened immune systems, and Wilbert B. Legionnaires, the tragically rich man whose life has been plagued by irony.
Just the one guy.
As part of the Smithsonian's National Museum Day, over a dozen museums statewide waived admission prices last Saturday. These events were part of the Smithsonian's new announcement of their new campaign, Museums. One last shot.
You know what? I'm sorry, but if I want to see a bunch of stuff I can't buy or have, I'm going to go to Target with my wife. Am I right, fellas? A new style of foot traffic was unveiled last week at the Mill City neighborhood, allowing pedestrians to literally share the road with motorists. This living street that allows walkers to roam among moving cars is the first of its kind in Minnesota, based on the Dutch concept known as woonert. Great. They're giving us everything but pot.
Tomorrow afternoon at Chaska's Hazeltine Golf Course, the Ryder Cup will be kicking off with its annual Celebrity Scramble, featuring, among others, Michael Phelps and Bill Murray. Don't blink or you'll miss Bill, though, because he has a busy day. He's headed to Loring Park immediately after the match to preside over a wedding, and then he's third cut at the CC Club.
Yeah. Gotta have a lot of jobs, a lot of jobs.
Anoka, congressionally proclaimed the Halloween capital of the world, I know, has teamed up with the U.S. Postal Service to unveil a series of new Halloween-themed forever stamps, the first of their kind. And if that weren't exciting enough, which it is, the accolade comes hot on the heels of Anoka's most recent achievement, being named one of Minnesota's towns.
In other suburban news, the historic Terrace Theater in Robbinsdale is being torn down this month to make room for a new Hy-Vee grocery store. A representative for Hy-Vee was quoted as saying, "We've got Redbox, so the nightlife is still around."
A hearty welcome back to civilization goes out to Grand Marais couple Dave and Amy Freeman, who have spent the past year exploring the Boundary Waters. Sources close to the couple have said very little since they can't get a fucking word in edgewise with those two anymore.
Just pictures, 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 you know.
I know what trees look like. You don't need to tell me. Target has removed children's carts from their stores after numerous accounts of them being rammed against things and bruising ankles. 7-year-old Joni Allen of Minnesotan said, "It's outrageous. I believe in capitalism a little west each and every day."
Oh, little Joni. Little Joni. Vice presidential candidate and St. Paul-born Tim Kaine returned to his roots last week, a visit many deemed controversial considering his running mate was recovering from pneumonia. Those of us in the North Star State know that this is no big deal, since some of you now and all of us soon will have or currently have pneumonia. I know I do. A teenage black bear is meandering in and out of suburban yards in Big Lake, Minnesota. As Minnesota Tonight's senior bear expert, I just wanted to reassure the residents of Big Lake that it is probably just a phase, but to be on the lookout for massive eye rolls and really short waves of irrational hostility. You know.
Believe me, it's safer if he just does it under your roof. Do yourself a favor, get him some salmon and a Fall Out Boy record.
He'll be fine. He'll be fine.
According to a study from the University of Minnesota, teenagers who eat healthy food gain less weight as they become young adults than teens who eat unhealthy food. Looks like the numbers on the scale are about to go one direction. That joke was for my stepdaughter, Kylie, who is making it very hard for me lately.
And now, sports. Longtime Minnesota Timberwolf Kevin Garnett announced his retirement from the NBA last week. And second-year Timberwolf player and reigning Rookie of the Year, Karl Anthony Towns, said on Instagram, "I know what I must do. I'll take it from here. Hashtag Celtics 2019.
Stillwater man Karl Heinrichs, a Viking superfan who adopts the persona of Sir Death during game days, was arrested last week for possessing 134 pounds of marijuana with intent to distribute.
That's a lot.
Man, all the pieces were in place and you just couldn't deliver. You, Sir Death, are a true Viking.
True.
A list of the 8 best local hot sauces was released last week, and I think the nominees are very apt considering our state. Coming in at number 3, ranch.
Makes sense. And finally, tonight's top story. I'm sure by now many of you have heard that Pierce, Minnesota native, Wells Fargo CEO, and stock photo model John Stumpf is not doing great. I mean, you know that your company is having a bad week when the best thing you have going on is losing an endless photobombing lawsuit with the other thing in town that everybody hates.
You gotta be stumping kidding me. A flat sign on the rooftop of your building right next to US Bank Stadium that isn't meant to sneak into the stadium's aerial shots? I'm sorry, are you banking on the moon now? I suppose opening lunar accounts is the only way to raise your cross-sell value since you can't get any deeper into the pockets of your human customers.
And speaking of high value, Stumpf cannot be feeling much better about himself after getting lit up by the Senate Banking Committee. He causes all this wreckage, defrauds millions of account holders, and then has the gall to blame it on his lower level management. And yet, he couldn't even answer the simplest of questions without either playing the victim or attempting a BS pre-written spin attempt. Are his PR guys the Coen brothers?
I'm not arguing here. I'm cooperating. And we're doing all we can.
Business school Rodney Dangerfield did eventually promise some change, though. He proposed a 5-year plan to hopefully deter misconduct caused under his reign. A copy of said plan has recently been released. However, when the plans
Nice.
inevitably fall through, Stumpf has a god-level loophole up his sleeve in the form of being sworn in with a broken hand. How'd you hurt yourself, Stumpf? Grasping at too many straws?
If this trademark jackass wants to keep any semblance of his company's public goodwill, he needs to knock off the excuses ASA stumpfing P and write the course hard and fast. His own staff members are unhappy, the public feels fooled, and based off of this footage, the Wells Fargo legal team needs a little help.
Here she comes.
It's hard to tell where this controversy is headed exactly, but we are already long overdue for a resignation. If there isn't one soon, he's going to be ousted on a pine pony, and at that point, it's going to be hard to make John Stumpf again. Thank you, everybody. For State of Minnesota, I'm Cody Nelson.
And I watch wrestling unironically.
Thank you.
Minnesota tonight. Minnesota tonight.